Good evening, everyone. Welcome to This Week from Rockdale, and I'm Larry Cox, and I'm a little distracted right now because I'm trying to share something because I got a little distracted texting someone about wanting some signs for a candidate running for office. So I was doing some multitasking here at the same time, and sometimes we all know how that goes, especially as challenged as I can be with the technology that it needs to run this show. It makes my life a little difficult at times. But I do want to thank everybody for joining me today. I have a couple of people that are popped up right now. We can thank William Campbell for joining and Danielle Nunez. Welcome, Danielle. Glad to have you here tonight. So, guys, we're going to kill about 30 minutes because DeJuan McKinney is going to be on the show, but he's not going to be on until about 8:30 because he had a board meeting for a nonprofit that he belongs to. That he was going to do that meeting first, and then when he comes in the green room, then we'll let him in. So that may be a little challenging to see how that goes because he and I didn't get a chance to do a test run. So we're going to do that. So what I intend to do tonight is talk about recap, talk about a few things, and then I may talk about something that's on a national level, a societal thing, something that impacts society. I've been hearing this in some church services and some different things. Would like to do that. Welcome James Corbett to the meeting. It was nice to meet you the other night too, James. Dan Burks has joined the meeting. Nice the broadcast. Nice for you to be here. So we're going to have our special guest come in on the second half of the hour, and if we need to run a little over to make sure he's got enough time for people to get to know who he is, because that's what we like to do on the show. We like to if candidates, it's an open invitation. Anyone who asks to be on the show can be on the show. So if they reach out to us, ask us to be on the show, then we say come on, and that's the thing. It's an open invitation for anyone to ask to be on the show. So Mr. Kenny is asked to be on the show, and he will be on the show this evening, talking about himself and why he's running for the House District 92, which will encompass most of Rockdale County. I want to talk a little bit about something tonight that's on a national thing. Then I'm going to get to some local things, and then around 8:20 to 8:30, Mr. Kenny said he would pop in, and then I'll let him in. So what I want to talk about, and there's been a lot of talk in the church community, and then just different people in general, and a lot of it was stirred up with the Supreme Court justice. Do you know what a female is? And it's like, I'm not a biologist. Today at church service, our pastor put up two photos up on the board today, and it was two of the young couples at our church this past week were blessed with the birth of two children. They each had a child born, and those children were daughters. And the pastor made an interesting comment. He said, "We look at these photos and we know these beautiful children are females, but there are those in society today who will attempt to confuse them in the future as to who and what they really are." And I think one of the reasons that people are so confused, and the youth specifically are being attacked, is there's a saying that if you can get someone to acknowledge the absurd as reality, you can get someone to believe anything. And we've been going down this path for the last couple of decades that we can't hurt people's feelings if they say there's something, a sexual orientation or whatever, then we got to play along with it. And that's what it is. It's actually playing along, because a boy is either a boy and a girl is either a girl. And pretending that you're something else does not mean you are something else by going by these pronouns and all this stuff. We're not actually helping our society or helping these individuals by going along with the absurdity. we're actually hurting them. And I say that because of this, because you've now got the transgender athletes and they want to participate as girls. We all know they're not girls, but yet for a long time we've been saying, well, you're female. We acknowledge the pronouns, acknowledge this. Well, now there's a movement. We want to acknowledge all that, but we want to say, yeah, we're going to acknowledge that you believe you're a female, but now we're saying you can't do this. Folks, we can't do all of that. We need to put the brakes on the absurdity. We need to put the brakes on someone believing there's something and saying there's something. It's no difference than me saying, I believe I'm a doctor. I go hang a shingle up outside my door here, say I'm a doctor and I accept patients. You know what's going to happen to me. My ass is going to go to jail. That's right, to jail. Okay. I say I would like to be a police officer. I go get me a uniform, start wearing a uniform and say I'm a police officer. What happens to me then? I get arrested for impersonating a police officer because it's like, that's not real. That's not reality. You're not really a police officer. So, we've drawn these fine lines that we allow you to pretend to be things that you're not. And we acknowledge it because we don't want to hurt your feelings. Sometimes in life, your feelings are just going to be hurt. And I think we've got to acknowledge that we just need to start hurting some feelings and stop accepting the absurd as reality and start practicing a little bit of truth. Nothing wrong with practicing a little bit of truth. I think it'll help our society and it'll help us moving forward if we stop acknowledging the absurd as reality. Because if we don't, then people can get you to believe anything when you start accepting this absurd as reality. That's my little bit of soapbox about that tonight. I'm going to just get off that now. I thank everyone for indulging me as I spoke about that this evening. I think it was something necessary to speak about. But that's something that if people are talking about it, and a lot of people are talking about it, and I've got some candidates that are running for office, and some people say, well, you don't need to talk about that. People don't care about that. Well, unfortunately, everywhere I go now, it's a topic of conversation and people do care about it. And especially parents of daughters, they care about this and they've got it that we went too far in accepting the absurd as reality. So stop accepting the absurd as reality and we should be able to move past this. That's my opinion. So let's talk about Rockdale County. And there's some absurd as reality right there, because I think we got 3 individuals who say they're Board of Commission members, and we're accepting it. We've accepted the absurd as reality. Does anyone in this chat, just like some answers, does anyone in this chat really believe that these 3 members of the Board of Commission are competent enough to actually serve in those roles and know what they're doing, and that we should continue electing them? Could I have a yes or a no? Just type your yeses and nos, and let it be said. I mean, mine is I will go ahead and type mine in right now, and I'm gonna be nice about it and not say my usual, oh hell no. I'm just gonna say no. The host says no. James Corbett says no. And I think a lot of you are going to agree with that. The answer is no. And a lot of it comes down to it's when we elect public officials, we want them to listen to the people, because we have a representative government. Is what type of government we're supposed to have. So it would be really nice to have public officials to actually represent the will and the need of the people instead of imposing their will upon the people. And that's what we have a lot of now. And actually most of it is elected officials imposing their will upon the people. So what kind of things have the Board of Commission been up to this week? Well, we heard in the meeting this week that they are going to give substantial raises to all county employees. All county employees this past year have received a couple of $5,000 bonuses. And now they're going to receive anywhere from like 7 to 18% raises, depending on, what position you hold. And in that meeting was asked, because they're going to use ARPA funds over the next budget year to supplement that, because they said there would be a shortfall in the budget. And then actually, there's not a real shortfall. They actually said that there was a formula that would show their shortfall. So whether they had a shortfall or not, there was a formula that the federal government allows them to use to show the shortfall, so they can use the ARPA funds for these salaries. So we're going to supplement the budget moving forward the rest of this year to implement those salaries increases. And, part of the reasoning behind all this is I see, Rockdale County is a metropolitan area county. We can't compete with the metropolitan area counties and such. Well, I'm just going to ask a question. Rockdale County has 93,000 plus people, right? And let's quit pretending that we're 100,000 plus county. We're not. 90-some thousand people. I actually predict that Rockdale County in the next census will decline and not increase. I predict that. And I think that's going to be a prediction that will come true. That I think Rockdale County population will decrease from what it is now in the next census. So let's just say Rockdale County is this 90-some thousand person county. DeKalb County's 500,000. All these counties around us, 200,000, 300,000. So is a county that is 93,000 people, is it the same as one of these metro counties? It's not. We may be declared as a metro county, but we're not like those other counties. We're mostly a rural type county. We're not a county with a lot of municipalities. We're not a county with hundreds of thousands of people for a tax base. So when it comes to pay and when it comes to the things that we can offer employees, we shouldn't be able to offer the same pay and benefits as a DeKalb or a Fulton or a Cobb, because we're not DeKalb and Fulton and Cobb. We're Rockdale County with 93,000 plus people, and we do not have the funds or the tax base to support the same things that a Fulton, a DeKalb, a Cobb County, or Cherokee County. We do not have the tax base. We don't have the jobs. Well, we don't have the employment to run those kind of things. We are a small rural county that's nestled amongst these giants, and we've got to get our elected officials to understand that Rockdale County will never be able to compete with those counties when it comes to certain things, because just purely our geographical size and the number of people that actually live in our county, because it takes a tax base of hundreds of thousands of people to realistically pay the salaries that they want to pay to our employees that compare with a Fulton and a Cobb and a DeKalb. We've got to realize that Rockdale County is Rockdale County, and our commissioners and our other elected officials need to realize they need to treat this county as the county it is, and something that it will never be. Clayton, Norwich, I like that. I'm going to throw that up there. Famously, the second smallest county, and that is true. Rockdale County trying to run with the big dogs. So, that's right. I mean, we are the second smallest landmass county. And, even though we do have, we have a high density population for a small county, we still are 93,000 people. We have large corporations that have come in and started buying our properties up. So we've become a big renter county. Uh, Homeowners are diminishing, rental properties are increasing. So, there are some changes afoot in Rockdale County when it comes to that. We have limited infrastructure capabilities. We have limited ability to provide sewer and water in certain regions of the county, which limit the type of businesses that can relocate or locate in Rockdale County. Uh, we've got with the limitations that we have upon us, then our county officials need to realize that Rockdale County can only be as big as we can be with what the tax base allows us to be. So we've got those limitations. Then we've got the county, which they asked for their PFA. They didn't get exactly what they wanted, but the local legislature who got tons of emails from citizens asking them not to pass this. We would love for them to tell us how many citizens sent emails asking for this PFA. Would love to see that. They're not going to tell you that because, trust me, folks, they did not get tons of emails asking for anyone, asking them to vote and approve this. But they did approve it. They did cap it at $110 million. I'm going to make a statement about that right now. We all know the primary purpose of that PFA was so that they could borrow hundreds of millions of dollars and build a judicial administrative complex in Old Town. That would have been well over a couple $100 million, at least 150 to 160. Now, with them being capped at $110 million, they will not be able to do that with that PFA. But I'm going to say I'm not a betting man, but this is a bet I think I would take. I believe that this Board of Commission, who has wholeheartedly said for years, there is no way that they can use SPLOST funds to build a courthouse. Now that they're at 110 probably, and they're going to be 40 to $60 million short of what they need to be able to build the complex that they want, I wager to bet that mysteriously 40 to $60 million will not be off the table to take from SPLOST to add to their 110 to build the complex that they want in Old Town. Just telling you, this is what I think will happen. And this is speculation, and this is me being a talking head right now because I can speculate. And also the fact that I'm killing time till Mr. Kenny comes on and talks with us. So it's a good talking point. So I would like to get some of the audience's thought on that. Do the audience think now that the PFA has passed, which will limit their ability and caps them at $110 million? Do you now think that 40 to $60 million is something they will mysteriously be able to do from the SPLOST now to be able to accomplish something that they want to do? Now that those funds will be the source that they will need to be able to accomplish that goal. And I would really like some comments in the chat about that, what people think, because that's what my thought is. My thought process is I believe this is no longer off the table, that the Board of Commission realizes that for them to build the complex they actually want, Clayton. Now, Clayton, we discussed this. Don't they need to declare the courthouse expenditure before the SPLOST goes on the ballot? Clayton, we've discussed this. They have declared a SPLOST for the ballot and have issued no projects. So no, they would not have to, because they listed categories and they listed rough estimates. So I don't know. Yeah, Alex, that's a revolving 110, but they're going to need that money at one time, and that's going to be rough to do because they're going to need those funds at at one single time to do that courthouse over a 2 or 3 year time period. So I think that's, that's why they're going to need to get that, to use that SPLOST money. And that's why I felt the danger all along of the way that they've introduced this SPLOST with no projects and just categories. It's real easy to go back in and adjust it now because they just listed it as categories, no projects. So if you don't really have the projects listed, they're not violating anything because they didn't list anything. And they did list up to almost $20 million as part of the SPLOST funds. So like I told you guys, I mean, and we're talking about a group of people who never saw a law they didn't want to break. Let's be real about it. So, that's one of the reasons I think now that more than ever, we have to defeat this SPLOST, because we've got to send a message that we want responsible spending. We want people to actually introduce a SPLOST that says what you're going to do and how you're going to do and how those funds are going to be spent. We don't want these loosey-goosey things that this Board of Commission has a tendency to do. Guys, if we don't stand now and stand strong, then we're in deep trouble. I think if we stand now against this SPLOST, and we may have to stand against the second SPLOST a year from now, I think that we can pressure this Board of Commission into doing the right thing with the SPLOST and building a courthouse at Parker Road for the appropriate amount of money that we have deemed. But it's going to take us sending the message that we're tired of our monies being inappropriately spent. It's going to be us as taxpayers saying enough is enough, and we would really like to our voices to be heard, our vote to be heard, and what we think should happen. Because guys, it's our money. It truly is our money. Charlotte Gellert, I agree 100%. A courthouse without an admin building. I believe we build the courthouse at Parker Road, then they can refurbish or remodel the courthouse in Old Town for their admin building and whatever leftover judicial segments that don't go to the Parker Road facility could stay at the courthouse. I think that's what we need to do. And that's the smart thing to do. And it's the fiscally responsible thing to do. So immediately that's the thing that this Board of Commission wouldn't want to do, because Lord help that they would do something that's fiscally responsible. The Lord help that they would do something that would actually help the citizens of Rockdale County, because that just doesn't happen. I mean, this group of individuals are just out of control when it comes to spending our tax dollars. They are not violating. I didn't say they weren't violating anything. I said they would not be violating what they've introduced, because right now they've not introduced. They have introduced the SPLOST illegally, so they can't do any additional violations because they intend to illegally spend the money that they've already want us to vote on. So we need to defeat it. But I think we defeat the SPLOST and then move forward. But if this SPLOST does pass, I believe they will allocate $40 or $50 million out of this SPLOST to go along with whatever they're going to spend from, which will be $110 million from the PFA to build their courthouse in Old Town. That's what I think will happen. I think if we stop the SPLOST, it will make them have a shortfall. I think they'll have to use the PFA in the interim to do their budget supplementing that they would have normally done with SPLOST, and it will delay their ability to actually build the $100 and some million complex in Old Town. Stopping the SPLOST will actually delay and stop them from doing a lot of the things they want to do, because it will interrupt their money flow. Because if they get the SPLOST, then their money flow is not interrupted, and they'll be able to move on and do what they want. If the SPLOST is defeated, and I know there's been conversations behind the scenes with the county officials and with SPLOST individuals, they are very concerned about this SPLOST not passing, because they have acknowledged internally that they probably, not no problem, but they didn't introduce it properly. That the county failed to introduce it properly, because if they would have introduced it properly, then the SPLOST committee could be going out there now and touting the specific projects that the SPLOST would be used for to improve the community. They're not able to do that right now. And if they start doing it, they're just pulling things out of the hat, because there's no committee has decided what they're going to do. So if they come up with projects right now, it will actually be what they say they never do, and that's the county deciding the projects. And let me restate that. The SPLOST committee has come up with no projects for the SPLOST that will be voted on this ballot. So if the county starts talking about projects that will be done under this SPLOST, these will be projects that the county has decided to do. And that is a total violation of what they said they would do. So I'm just telling you guys, we're in an interesting situation moving forward, especially with how the county has decided they're going to do these raises. They said, and that they are going to, and have acknowledged that the ARPA funds will supplement this now, but significant millage rate increases will have to happen if these budgets are going to be kept in the future. And guys, I don't see them backing off on those salaries or taking them down. I don't see them stopping budgeting phantom or ghost employees. Let me ask the audience, do you think that the county will stop budgeting ghost employees for the different? It's not only the sheriff's department that has ghost employees. It's most all county departments have ghost employees, and they use those monies to fund other things and do raises for certain people and stuff. So I don't see the ghost employee program stopping. And I don't know what in the HR book it says that these ghost employees are entitled to. I'd really like to see the HR book and see what ghost employees get. So it'd be interesting to me. It will be interesting to see who manifests this stuff and tries to establish the was it no ghost salary seems typical everywhere. Yeah, Clayton, you're right. Ghost salaries are very typical, but they drive up these inflated budgets and these inflated numbers for the county. A few years ago, they were stopped. Hey guys, let me tell you, Mr. Kenny he's in the green room. He's smiling at me now because he hears me talk about him being in the green room. So I'm going to open him up and we're going to see what happens. Thank you guys for indulging me for the last 30 minutes so that we could wait on Mr. Kenny. And then you all know I didn't have a problem running my mouth. So let's see what happens. Mr. Kenny, are you here?
Yes, sir. I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening. It's glad to have somebody who's technologically savvy, who is able to make that transition smoothly and come in. So thanks for joining us tonight. And like I said, it's an honor to have you on the show tonight. And to me, I'll just be honest, it's an honor for me to actually have people on the show who put themselves out there and run for office, because it's a difficult thing. And someone who hasn't done it before, they don't understand it. I've ran for office myself before, Mr. Kenny, and you know what, you can take a beating when you run for office, but the key is to take a beating and keep on ticking. So
yes,
that's the issue. So welcome to the show. I want to start off by giving you an opportunity to introduce yourself, let people know who you are and why you've decided to run for office here in Rockdale County.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I am Dr. DeMoine Kinney. I'm so grateful to be here tonight with you all. I am a pastor, pastor Faith Builders Ministries of Christ, located right here in Conyers, Georgia. Right now, our ministry is still virtual. A lot of our folks, wanted to stay virtual for now. But we're located off 2055 G's Mill Road. That's where our office space is. We do meet for counseling and all that over there in that location. We also have quite a few businesses here. We have the Kids Acting Academy, which most people know us for either that, or I have a mortuary transport company called Kinney Transportation Services, and I work with Gregory B. Levin and Sons Funeral Home, as well as I work at the coroner's office. And I'm running for House of Representatives, District 92, which covers Rockdale and the Stonecrest area, but it goes all the way up to Panola Road. It's really simple for me. I look at our area and I believe that our area, we got to start seeing more progress from the state level. And when I say that, I have three key areas I'm focused on. Number one, juvenile justice. Number two, education. Number three, veteran services. I'm a veteran. Of course, you can see my stuff behind me. And, being 100% permanent and total through the VA, I believe that we need better veteran services here in our area. When you look at our area, we're having to drive to Columbus, Georgia, Augusta, Georgia. We're having to drive into Atlanta, and it's taking so long to get appointments and things like that. Another thing for me, too, is when it comes to education, we need somebody who's going to advocate for the children. And I say this all the time, who better than me? I got 5 kids that are studying in Rockdale County schools. I have 2 at Flat Shoals Elementary School, and I have 3 at Rockdale High. 2 daughters attend RCA also. And my oldest son, he graduated from Rockdale High School. And so, again, we need somebody who's going to advocate on behalf of the children. And juvenile justice, of course, is big for me because I believe we need better protections for those children who've been molested and raped. I was one of those kids who was molested as a child, and I believe that we need better protections in place for these kids in this state. Also, those kids who are first-time nonviolent offenders, we need better accountability in our system when it comes to their records being expunged. I was in the Air Force, and when I was in recruiting, we could not recruit a lot of the kids because their records was not expunged, and they had a nonviolent offense when all they had to do was create a program, have them go through that 6 or 8 week program, complete at least 40 to 80 hours of community service, and their record should have been expunged. But a lot of kids, their dreams were crushed because they were not able to come into the military. And so I come from many different perspectives: military, I'm a father, and then of course, from the entertainment perspective, most people know I'm a film and television producer also. And so because of all of those things, that's why I'm running for office. And it's not, and let me say this, do I know who our current representative is? I've heard the individual's name, I've seen the individual twice, but I'm not running against anybody. I'm running for our district. I'm running because I believe that I'm the guy who's relations together, because I believe in relationships and partnerships, and I believe I can make those things happen for our area.
I mean, and that's, I think, kind of you to say, but ultimately, I mean, when I ran for office, and when most people run for office, is somebody's in that seat, and ultimately, you believe you can do a better job than the person that's in that seat, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all to say, I believe I can do a better job. I mean, it's, and that's part of it. I mean, it's just, I believe I'm the person that can represent this district, and and I think that's a great thing. And like I said, running for office is tough because because you put yourself out there, and you face a lot of criticism, and people, and they ask a lot of you, and you're only as good as your last thing you did for them. Because as soon as you do something that they don't think it's for them, then they become against you. So it's like, it's like where the rubber meets the highway. So let me ask you.
Yes, sir.
So you've mentioned the things that you would like to do, and most people, when they're running for these House reps, and then the House reps and the state senators, they do things that impact the whole state. But people in a district really don't care about that. They care about what you're going to do to help the community that they live in. What's the first piece of legislation that you believe you could either introduce, or a piece of legislation that exists that you could change that would impact the citizens that live in House District 92?
Okay, well, first and foremost, I'm glad you asked that question, and thanks for that. One of the about juvenile justice was the fact that we need better protection for the kids. I work at the coroner's office, so I'm privy to a lot of information when it comes to our area. And a lot of people don't know that these children don't really have a voice like that. And so when it comes to these kids, I believe, again, that they need somebody to be that voice for them who understands their situation. We saw so many cases during COVID where these children were molested even more. There was a situation I just heard about this morning where a child was being molested on camera. The person didn't know that the camera was still going on and the kid was in class, and they came in and they raped the child. Another thing too is when it comes to uh, registered sex offenders moving into an area, I have individuals who live in this area, and they've been telling me how a sex offender has moved into their area. Nobody told them that the guy was a sex offender. He had raped a 5-year-old little girl, and now he's living amongst all of these children in this one community here. And so I believe, again, that legislation needs to be drafted to protect these children even more. I believe that before an individual can move into an area, they have to notify the HOA. They have to, people in the community have to be notified that the individual is moving in or trying to move in. Don't wait until 2 months after they're there and now everybody's finding out. So that's number one for me. Number two, of course, is when I look at voucher programs for students, okay, because we keep talking about wanting to keep kids in our area. We don't want them to move out and go get jobs other places. Well, we have to have something in place where we create voucher programs for those kids who are going to RCA or any career academy in our area, right? Yeah, I believe if we at least help these families with paying for those vouchers for those kids who have gone to RCA and have been promised, hey, if you maintain a 75 average or above, you can actually sit for a state board exam. Well, the question always is, how is it going to get funded? Who's going to pay for it? So in order to keep some of these kids here in this area, we got to have something written, because I'm military. I was always told if it's not documented, it didn't happen. So for me, I believe that we must write something to say, hey, this is what will happen if these children maintain this standard. We can fund these voucher programs so that these kids can go to Rockdale, Piedmont and get a job. They won't have to leave, right? And so
it's a form of school choice. Would be a form. It would, and that would be a form of school choice where the money would follow the child in certain situations.
yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I mean, and let me tell you, and I'm with you. I mean, I believe in limited choice. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because I believe for the public school system to improve, I think there has to be competition.
Yeah.
And if we allow a voucher program, some choice opportunities, and if the dollars start coming out of the public school system, they're not going to want those dollars to leave. And if they feel they have to compete, then it will be just amazing, I believe, how fast that school system, public school system improves. And I think programs like that you're talking about, even though it's a limited program, that's still limited school choice, and I would support that wholeheartedly.
Yes, sir. Got you. And let me say this too, because I know I knew this question was going to come. I actually saw a comment about the PFA. I've read through a lot of what was said about the PFA, and I've talked to our officials about the PFA. And one of the things I talked about that was first for me was, hey, I believe that we need to have more people a part of the PFA, right? If you got individuals, and this is just my personal opinion, I believe if you already have individuals who have certain levels of power, I believe that there should be more of a balanced approach to a PFA. Again, I come from a military background. And so for me, I don't believe that individuals who already have all the power should continue to have all this power when it comes to different things like a PFA. So for me, I believe that if we have more of a balanced approach to it, I believe that that will work. And that's definitely something I would definitely support as far as taking more of a balanced approach to getting that done and allow your constituents to have a voice in it also. I don't believe we should shut constituents out.
No, and this is the thing about it. With me, if I believe in ballot initiatives, I think anytime that we're looking at imposing loans or additional taxes on the citizens of a county, it needs to go on the ballot. They need to decide that. And I don't think it needs to be 3 people or 5 people that actually decide if we're going to. It's like we impose 3 different taxes on ourselves right now, Mr. Kennedy. We impose a host, a splost, and a least
Mhm.
and a lot of people don't realize over a 20-year cycle, do you know that's $1.2 billion that we impose on ourselves in a 20-year cycle? That's
Yes.
enough money to solve a lot of problems. And our concern with any of this is actual oversight. We just don't feel there's enough oversight. And you made a point just now that I find interesting. If you look at Rockdale County and you look at the different boards that we have, you're going to find a common denominator and a problem that I think that this commission and other commissions, not just this commission, but other commissions before this commission, have appointed always the same individuals to every board. The people that are the authority of this board are the same people that are on that board and the other board. And they come off of one board and go to another board. And it's the same people over and over again. So you're right, it's the same people with power.
Yeah.
And it can be a problem.
Could be, yeah. Because again, like I said, coming from a military background, we were always taught that, hey, if you got individuals who already have certain levels of power, hey, you need to take more of a balanced approach so that there's a good number of individuals who have a voice. And so that's just how I feel about it. I believe that we got to have more. I always say it like this because my granddad has been in politics for so many years too. You got to have the people's buy-in before we can move anything forward.
And 100%. I mean, one of the things that upset the citizens of Rockdale County more than anything was this was introduced and implemented without any public hearings or meetings. And even the revised version never got brought back out to the people for a discussion or let them know what was going on. And that was very disturbing to the citizens. And I do know personally that there were several thousand emails that were sent to the delegation to not pass it. Okay. They didn't get any emails saying to pass it. That's a very clear indicator. I think they got 3 emails. And,
Wow.
and all of those emails came from rockdale.gov address. That's a joke. That's a joke. But but they did get all these emails that were directed to them. And several of the legislators had pledged that they wouldn't pass a bill like that unless it was a ballot initiative. And actually, one of them is your opponent who had pledged that initially, and then they backed off on it. So, and that's just something they have to answer to at the ballot box. So just let you know, moving forward, when you tell the citizens that you're going to do something, and then you don't even come to them and tell them you're not, that they look at that harshly, and they should look at it harshly. So I, one thing I listened to your sermon today, okay, and what you said. One of the things you talked about in the sermon today was about be careful who you put yourself out there to, and such and all that. And then I'm talking to myself. He's talking about that he's running for office, where you can't do that. I mean, you actually have to put yourself out there, and everybody has an opinion about you and this and that. And I'm thinking, I said he was doing a little soul searching today. Might have been preaching to himself.
No. So I'll even explain the point. I'll explain it. So what God was showing me coming into the message, coming into teaching the message, was that when it comes to your vision, a lot of times we share our vision with people, and a lot of times those individuals are there to try to distract you or try to shut you down from birthing out the vision that God has given you. And so when it comes to our vision, I said earlier this morning that the one thing that nobody can hijack from you is your vision. And so when you allow people to have access to what God has told you, which sometimes we share it too soon, okay? Sometimes we share the vision too soon to people. And so think about all the businesses that could have been created. Think about all the books that could have been written. Think about all the inventions that could have been birthed out also. But because told somebody too soon, somebody could have said, well, I don't think that's going to work. And most of the times, what do? We believe what other people say. But I believe this. I'm supposed to focus on God's purpose and God's vision for me versus other people's opinion. So that's what I believe matters the most when it comes to your vision.
Oh, you're 100% right. I mean, I've talked many a time, and I've told people that when it comes to what your vision is and what you think about yourself, that there'll be a lot of people who speak negativity over you. They'll speak that
Mhm.
you can't do that, and that when you're young and when you're at that age that you're vulnerable, then people believe that, and they believe what the word is spoken over them, that you'll not accomplish this, you're stuck in this, you're stuck in that. And because words are powerful, because remember, you and I both know this, the spoken word created everything. So that's
Absolutely.
so we, so a lot of people, wonder, well, what's the power of the word? The power of the word is everything. So
Absolutely.
so that's interesting. But I like that. I did like your sermon today, just to let you know that, Pastor.
Awesome.
So
Well, thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. But do you have a speaker on?
I do not.
Okay. I thought I turned mine off. I hope I did. Yes, mine's off. It's just got some background somewhere. But I think that I think that the citizens of Rockdale County, there are several things that they want to know about what a representative may or may not do. And
Of
one of
course.
the things in Rockdale County that is always a big topic is 5 commissioners versus 3 commissioners. Now,
Mhm.
if you were elected as House District 92, that's one of the things that's going to come to you as a question at times,
Mhm.
because there's actually a ballot question this time. Both
Yeah.
parties have asked similar type questions. And I
Mhm.
think depending on how those answers go, I think you guys that are legislators, who are elected legislators, are going to have a good idea of how the citizens would like it to go
Mhm.
versus how the county commission would like it to go.
Yeah.
So if the citizens of this county, and we see this by what's on the ballot box and how they answer those questions, if they would like for that board to be expanded, what's your thought process of a 5-person commission versus a 3-person commission?
Okay. Great question. Personally, when I look at the commissioner board, period, right, and I look at the number of constituents we have in our area, in my personal opinion, I thought we would have had a 5 commissioner board based on the numbers of individuals that we have here. When you also look at um, how the numbers are projected for Rockdale County, um, again, the numbers would support a 5 commissioner board. As I've spoken with individuals and also read in the newspaper last year, this question had come up before. And so I saw some of the answers that many individuals had given in reference to this. And what I saw them saying was, well, because of the size of the county, they didn't believe that a 5 commissioner board was necessary. But again, the county's small, but when you look at the numbers of constituents basically says we may need to look at a 5 commissioner board so that we can, again, take more of that balanced approach to policy here in our area. And so again,
It,
just I'm sorry, go ahead.
and that's why we do a realignment of the legislature every 10 years in the
Right.
whole country. So we do
Mhm.
it so that we can minimize those sizes of districts so that people can be better represented when we have to add legislators and make sure there are not too many people in an area. Because you're right. Right now, the way we do it, and it's at large, you've got 3 people representing 93,000 people each.
Mhm.
And that's that difficult task. And
Yeah.
I think we all know there's no actual way you can do that. And that's been the point all along. It's actually been about representation, is what the citizens have actually discussed. And it'll be interesting, because I think it's something it'll be something that the members of the legislature are going to have to look at the next legislative session, because especially with the ballot questions that have come up. There was also an interesting thing that came up this year, and it was about exemptions for senior citizens with the Board of Education property tax. Now, there was a movement, and
Right.
again, I know this personally. There were thousands of emails sent to the state delegation asking for exemptions for senior citizens. And the exemption was a dollar amount, 35,000, and they passed something that's going to 50. Well, are you aware that every neighboring county that borders Rockdale County has an exemption for seniors except for Rockdale County?
Yes, sir. I was made aware of this, and
But
I,
and you know, and this is the thing. It's like these same legislators who refuse to take it up for this county represent all of those other counties that have that. So how can they represent these other counties and it's okay for those counties to have it, but the citizens of this county can't? Makes no sense.
well, what's this? So when I was medically retired from the military, I was actually stationed in South Carolina, and I know that South Carolina and Georgia has what they call the Peach Palmetto Partnership, and a lot of the things that happens in South Carolina doesn't really translate to over here in Georgia. A lot of other things might translate, and so I mentioned that because even veterans who are 100% permanent and total in the state of South Carolina, you pay no taxes when it comes to your property, when it comes to your cars. But here, you have to pay taxes on your house. I know I'm 100% permanent total through the VA, and I pay taxes on my home. Reduced rate, but so when you look at seniors, to me, it should be an automatic thing for seniors because I was stationed in quite a few areas, and everywhere I was stationed, they all had stuff written in their legislation that specifically stated once an individual of a certain age, and typically it's around 65 to 70 years old, then they get tax exemptions. Now, I'm not privy to all the numbers as far as the study that they've done here, but I do find it a little, it bothers me to know that the neighboring counties all have it, and when we happen to not. So that's something that I would definitely like to look into to see what I can do for Rockdale County citizens, because I believe it's important. It doesn't feel good when you're sitting at the table with somebody who's living in DeKalb County and you live in Rockdale. You're like, hey, so what's your tax exemption like? Because that's stuff that people do talk about. Because I mean, think about it. Because when your taxes
I'll tell you what. I also belong to another group, and I belong to the Republican Party, but I also belong to a nonpartisan group called the Rockdale Voter Group, which it has an advisory council that's actually made up of Democrats and Republicans, and former Democrat chairs belong to the advisory council.
Okay.
Just to let you know. So, and on that, so what the Rockdale Voter Group suggested was that at age 65, we start a phased out, where we would phase it out from 65 to 72 or 75 or whatever age it come to. And by doing the phase out, it would allow the Board of Education to be able to adjust to the phase out. And this is another thing, and this is what they don't permanently lose those tax dollars, because as seniors pass away, then those houses are sold. They go back into the market. Younger people buy them, and those houses go back on the tax rolls. So we're not looking at those homes being off the market for long periods of time. I would beg to say that the 100% exemption thing would be no more than 5 to 7 years, and then it would go back on the tax rolls. So in my opinion, what this does, it gives senior citizens in their golden years an opportunity to enjoy life and not worry about taxes during the last years of their lives. That was my thought process, and it was actually a thought process of a lot of the folks who lived in the county that wanted to see that. But we wanted to see that as something that would help seniors. And if you're elected, I really would love to work with you on that legislation to be able to help our senior citizens.
Yes, sir. Because I'll just say this to you too. I hate seeing our seniors being priced out of their homes, and that's something that I've seen before. That doesn't make me feel good, because my grandparents helped raise me. My father died so my granddad, he's 87 years old now. My grandmother, she's 84. My other grandmother, my dad's mom, she's around the age of 83 at this point. And so when you see elderly individuals being priced out of their homes due to taxes.
Yeah, and I think it's something that we as a society, we can't condone it.
Absolutely.
And we, since we're on kids and education and stuff like that, I'd like to go into that, to the education thing a little bit in Rockdale County. So, one of our, they ask, I think Charlotte asked, how many juveniles do you think that your program would help in Rockdale County? I mean, and it is an important thing because I think we do see issues with crime, especially with our youth in Rockdale, and and helping with that direction. So, what do you think those numbers are with your program and helping kids in Rockdale?
Well, based on the numbers that we've seen, I believe thousands of children would be affected, and they would benefit from legislation being drafted. Again, I gave you a couple different scenarios. One individual, the child was on virtual learning and was raped. You have another situation where a sex offender moves into an area, right? And nobody knew until almost 2 months later. Then they were notified that this individual was living next door to them. So again, if you put specific measures in place to say, before an individual can move into this area, the HOA needs to be notified so they can let these homeowners know where this individual is trying to move. Give them an opportunity to, hey, if they want to sell their homes, give them the opportunity. Don't take people's choice away. That's my whole thing. Don't take their choice away because somebody didn't do what they needed to do as far as getting the right information to those homeowners.
Well, and you mentioned something also when you were talking about what we think, as far as representing the Rockdale and the number of citizens. And before you came on, I had made a comment, and I was talking about something. And I said that we're 93,000 X, okay, and that there were reasons I think that the population is going to decrease between now and the next census and not increase. And part of my reason I think it's going to is because I see the exodus of children like you were talking about because of the lack of opportunity. And then when the kids leave, you and I both know this, the families follow. If those kids leave, the families follow. And that you can look at that in any community in America. When you see an exodus of the youth, the family unit follows those children. And that happens. I come from a community in West Virginia, same kind of thing happened. The industry changed and, just different things. And the youth left and the families left. So we talk about this small little county and people predict it being over 100,000 or whatever. And I don't think I see that happening because unless individuals like you are able to initiate the programs that you're talking about, then these youth will leave this community, and those voids will happen. Reality of what I really think will happen, Mr. Kenny, is I actually see Rockdale County eventually becoming a county of mid-70s to high 70,000 people, because I don't think I just do not see the youth staying here if things don't change.
Yeah.
I mean, but other than, what other programs do you think we can do to actually help keep kids here in Rockdale County after they graduate school?
Again, I mentioned the voucher programs and everything earlier too. I know the main reason why I was ready to leave South Carolina was because I felt like there was nothing there for me as far as me becoming a young adult. I was like, there's nothing here. There's no opportunity here for me. And especially the opportunities that I was looking for. Case in point, I'm in the film and television industry. I'm a producer, right? But I started out as an actor. And so, there was no opportunities in Dillon, South Carolina, where I'm from. I also was interested in information technology. So when I joined the military, they gave me the opportunity to actually do work in information technology. My bachelor's degree is in information technology management. That was something that I saw myself, as far as vision, goes back to vision, I saw myself getting that. And I was blessed to be able to attain all of those things that I saw in my vision. But it started with me leaving where I was from. We have to recruit. Okay, we got to develop relationships. And I've already talked to Mr. Hanna at the the economic development. I've spoken with him, and I told him, I said, hey, I believe that if we worked harder at recruiting those companies like the Lockheed Martins, like the Booz Allen Hamiltons, I said, if we recruit them, I believe that a lot of kids who want to be in IT, they'll stay right here. And this is the other thing. If you look at Fort Gordon, you look at Dobbins Air Force Base, you look at Warner Robins Air Force Base, what's smack dab in the middle of all three? Rockdale County.
Yep, right here.
Rockdale County. And listen, I have a research and development company. I do a lot of stuff for the government, right? And one of the things I can tell you right now is they don't hear a lot coming from Rockdale County to get them to come here to this area, right? But we need a voice that's willing to go out here and develop these relationships. I have a lot of them already, but we got to develop more so that we can start pulling these companies who are winning these sole source contracts through the government, right? Get them to come to Rockdale County and offer some of those opportunities to our young people who are here so that they won't leave the area and never come back.
You know, I'm in the construction business, and I know a lot of business people in the area. And I talked to them about, I decided to to open our business here in Rockdale. And but I've talked to a lot of different business guys, and I asked them about, would they consider coming to Rockdale, and they say no. They say the cost of doing business in Rockdale is too high. Point blank what they say. So I think, our Board of Commission needs to look at that, listen at that. They're going to have to do a little soul searching if they really want to grow and advance the county. And it might not be what they want to do, but what's right for the county. So I think you're right. I think we can do this. It just needs to be working together, sometimes getting outside of our own pride and realizing what's best for the community might not be something that makes us look good as far as an elected official. You know what I mean? If it makes the community look good, that's the most important thing.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, this has been a very good show. I think you've positioned yourself well. You've told the folks what you'd like to do, and I think people have asked a lot of questions about what's having people mentioning the background noise, and I hear it too. Don't know where it's coming from. So, but you know how it is with technology. I mean, it is what
yes,
it
sir.
is. So,
hey, can I add something else? I would love to add something else because I do see the questions also. And a lot of people have asked me too when I'm out. They say, hey, as far as our roads, as far as the fence along I-20, what do you plan to do about that? Well, first and foremost, I believe that in order to attract people here, we got to have some of the best roads that people have ever driven on. And we also have to put things in place to let individuals know that have vehicles that are tearing the roads up. We got to make sure that we have things in place and hold people accountable. The other thing I wanted to say too is when it comes to that fence along I-20, anything that is considered a state road, a state access road, that would be in my wheelhouse. Anything that's in the county, that's why you got to have those great relationships to get them to come to the table and want to listen to what you have to say. Because one of the main concerns I've heard constituents come to me with is this: what are we going to do about these manhole covers that have not been leveled out? We're tearing up our cars. We have traffic jams in our neighborhoods. Those are things that I would like to be able to sit down with our local officials and talk to them about so that we can get these things done. Because trust me, I'm running for state representative and they're coming to me about a lot of county stuff. And I'm like, well, that's why you got to have a state rep who has good relationships with these individuals and a state rep who's going to be willing to have tough conversations with people. And that's me. I'm willing to do that.
And that's right. You can let them know that, hey, this is what I can do. This is my wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. And then you direct them to the proper entity. And that's part being a good state rep too, is knowing who's responsible for what.
Right.
So right. What I was going to say, and I'm glad you answered that, but what I was going to give you an opportunity now to actually close out, just remind people who you are, and what you're about, and why they should vote for you.
Yes, sir. Well, again, I'm Dr. Demoyne Kinney. I am a public servant. That's what I do. And my goal right now is to be able to represent everyone in Rockdale County and in the Stonecrest / DeKalb County areas. That is my ultimate goal. And the reason why I believe that I'm the person for the job is because I believe in partnerships. I saw there was a question earlier asking me about my research and development company, pastoring, producing movies, all of that. I don't try to do everything in the same season, but I'm also blessed to have amazing people that work for my companies. So when you hear me talking about the companies, you hear me talking about pastoring, I have an amazing support team that is there to make sure that Dr. Kinney don't try to take on more than what he's supposed to be taking on. And so for me, I believe in balance. I believe in management, which is what the Bible is really about, management. And so because of those reasons, I believe I will be a great state rep for each and every individual. And I'm not here to just represent one side. That's the reason why I'm on this show right now, because I believe that a representative is supposed to represent everybody in your area, everyone in your district. You have to represent everyone. You can't have these cliques and all this stuff going on. That's not what it's about. What it is about, though, is making sure that every single voice is heard, and all the issues that you can definitely do something about, you got to make sure you're doing something. You can't just sit there. You can't argue with everybody. You got to listen. And that's the thing, my wife, you know what? That's the reason why I'm glad I married you. You're such a great listener. And guess what? Here we go. Again, I'm Dr. DeMorin Kinney, running for House of Representative District 92. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to go to my website, DesMoinsKinney4GA.com. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook and all that. And again, it's DesMoinsKinney4GA.com. God bless you all. Thank you all so much.
Des Moines, thanks for joining me. If you wouldn't mind, if you would just hold on, and I'll talk to you after the show for a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click you out, and I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, and
Yes,
then I'll talk to you after we go off.
Yes.
Guys, I think we've had a good show tonight. It was great to have Des Moines on the show. As usual, it was great to have all you watching the show tonight. I look forward to next week, and I look forward to growing the show with you, the community, because as long as we invest in this community and we work together, then all things are possible. So thanks, guys, for tuning in, and I look forward to next week's show, and I'll see you guys then. Thanks a lot. Bye.